Etymology and historical origin of the baby name Roderick. Roderick comes from the ancient Germanic masculine name Hroderich, which is comprised of the Germanic elements Hrod, fame, and Rik, power. King Roderick, known as King Rodrigo to the Spanish, holds the distinction of being the last Visigothic king of Hispania in the 8th century, before the Iberian Peninsula fell to the Moors. From an Old English perspective, HRRC was brought to England pre-Middle Ages by Scandinavian settlers. Later in the 11th century, Roderick was a given name reinforced by way of the French Normans, Rodrigo, who came to conquer England in 1066. The name barely survived beyond medieval England until its resurrection in the early 19th century by Sir Walter Scott's widely read poem The Vision of Don Roderick, 1811. See literary references below. Furthermore, Rodrigo Díaz de Vivar was the name of El Cid, the 11th century Castilian military leader and legendary hero who famously fought against the occupying Moors and recaptured the Spanish coastal city of Valencia. For obvious reasons, Rodrigo has seen most of his popularity on the Iberian Peninsula among the Spanish and Portuguese, but Roderick has also done quite well in more modern times among English speakers. Besides the Spanish Rodrigo, the Russian form of Roderick, Rurik, is likewise entrenched in historic importance. Circa 862 AD, a Viking from the Baltic region named Rurik came down into the territory we now know as Russia, built a settlement in Novgorod which sits on the all-important Volga River, and started the first Russian dynasty which lasted all the way up until the 17th century. It's interesting to note that it was a Scandinavian named Rurik, Roderick, and not a Slav who established the first kingdom of Rus, Russia. A founder of Russia, a king of the Visigoths, and El Cid are three famously powerful men who all share some form of the name Roderick. We should also mention that Hroderich, meaning reddish-brown, is considered a Welsh form of Roderick. Personality of the boy named Roderick. The number 11 is a master number and embodies heightened traits of the two. This personality is on a life journey to find spiritual truth. They are extremely idealistic and intuitive. 11s have a rare and exceptional spiritual energy that brings a sense of obligation to illuminate the world around them. It's a very powerful responsibility, but these people have far more potential than they know. It's important that they surrender to higher ideals. They have the capacity to see the bigger picture, and they possess the skills to inspire others spiritually. 11s have strong diplomatic skills and can become great peacemakers. Master numbers can be both a blessing and a curse, as they walk the fine line between greatness and the potential for self-destruction. Popularity of the boy named Roderick. Germanic names tend to be strong, masculine, and a little rough around the edges. Roderick is no exception to this rule. Dating back to the late 19th century in America, Roderick is a name that's familiar to all of us even though it's never been a super trendy choice. Roderick reached the height of his success in terms of usage in the 1960s and 70s, having achieved his best position on the charts in 1967 at spot number 221. The 1980s and 90s were less kind to Roderick as his descent down the charts began, but it was really during the 2000s that the name dropped like rocks. Now barely visible on the top 1,000 list, Roderick may be headed for hibernation. Even if Roderick disappears from the American radar for a while, we trust he will return one day again. This ancient name has demonstrated too much staying power to vanish forever. American naming styles today favor softer masculine names like Ethan and Noah or Jaden and Aiden. Roderick is very Germanic, tough and strong. There's less of an audience for such names today, and so old Roderick is left to accumulate dust until he is once again appreciated for his once famous power. Potential nicknames include Derek, Rick, Rod, Roddy, or Rory. Quick facts on Roderick. Gender, boy. Origin, English. Number of syllables, 3. Ranking popularity, 984. Pronunciation, Hroderich. Simple meaning, famous power. Characteristics of Roderick. Uplifting, truth seeker, inspirational, highly intuitive, spiritual teacher, extremely bright. Cultural references to the baby name Roderick. Literary characters of the baby name Roderick. The Vision of Don Roderick is an 1811 poem by Sir Walter Scott about the last Visigothic king of Spain Rodrigo's legendary vision. Rodrigo's name was anglicized to Roderick by the Scottish poet. In the poem, the king goes inside a magical chamber where, according to legend, the future will be exposed, but only to the last king of Spain. Amidst his military campaign against the Moors, the king enters the magnificent marble chamber and sees two giant bronze statues on either side of the hall. One statue is holding an hourglass which instantly runs out of sand, while the other giant statue hurls a scepter at a far wall which immediately displays a movie-like panorama revealing the future of Spain. It foretells the imminent conquest by the Moors, 8th century, the Spanish Inquisition, 15th century, and the Napoleonic conquest of Portugal, around the time this poem was written, between 1807 and 1814. It also revealed how the British would come to the aid of the Portuguese and help liberate them. The proceeds from the sale of the poem were used to help fund the Portuguese, but also to provide inspiration for a victorious outcome. Roderick Usher is the main character in Edgar Allan Poe's famous 1839 short story, The Fall of the House of Usher. Roderick is a great name, but this character is a mess. Sorry, that's the way it is. He and his invalid, bedridden, in a trance mass of a twin sister, Madeline, live together in the decaying family mansion. She is a physical wreck and he's an emotional one. The eerie and distasteful suggestion of a kind of spiritual incest between them hangs in the air. Roderick has called upon a friend, the unnamed narrator, to come and help him out, and he needs it. Roderick is a hypochondriac and a probable agoraphobic who also, just by the way, buries his sister alive, while telling his friend she is dead. Not so fast, says she, managing to claw her way out of her tomb and take her revenge on Roderick. At the end of this cheery tale, the narrator escapes with his life, while the House of Usher splits in two and falls upon the dead Roderick and Madeline, now united forever. In 1960, Roger Corman made a low-budget film entitled House of Usher, with Vincent Price as Roderick, but that doesn't help matters at all. Famous people named Roderick. Roderick Long, American libertarian; Roderick Strong, wrestler; Roderick Rod Stewart, musician; Roderick MacKinnon, Nobel Prize winner, chemistry; Roderick Roddy McDowell, British actor; Roderick Roddy Toombs, aka Roddy Piper, wrestler; Roderick Murchison, Scottish geologist.